always a pleasure to see you again, Stu.
Likewise, but we're surrounded by, we're immersed in chaos.
We are to some degree, and a lot of, how should we say, weak-kneed behavior as well. But before we get into that, Stu, I want to find out, when are you leaving for Hopkins for your reunion? I want to hear about this.
Oh, well, I just came back.
Oh.
And I just came back, and it was wonderful in many ways. I'll start off by I won't say too much, except at the end, we had a memorial service for a fraternity brother who passed. And his widow was invited from the lower eastern shore of Maryland, where she had lived with her husband. She was brought by limo up to this little gathering in a Jewish facility called a Hillel, which is some kind of, I don't want to say that as demeaning. I don't know the exact how you characterize it. It's not a religious thing.
No, I think they have them on campuses.
Exactly, and this was adjacent to campus. But the people in the gathering around a table, we were telling stories, the ones we knew about this fellow, and it was very funny and sometimes very moving. And on my immediate right was his widow, and you could see she was feeling it was a difficult day for her. It's about a year since he's passed, and it just very touching, though, and that was the end of it. Other parts of it were wonderful gatherings for dinner and drinks with old friends from 60 years. I mean, I knew most of these guys since 1960. It's wonderful that we still have these relationships. I value them and adore them.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. It's kind of funny because when I see the obituaries of classmates, not enough of them, if you ask me, because I hated every last one of them. And a matter of fact, Stu, we have asked our listeners,
yes,
the few and far between,
yes,
to leave comments on Spotify or our website, because it will help us increase traffic.
Yeah.
So far, I haven't seen any, but I did get some feedback from one of my friends.
Oh, yes?
And she's a lot like you, Stu, in that she's always looking at the positive side of things. I don't know how I get stuck with people like you.
I don't always look at the positive side of things. I think, though, that when juxtaposed against you, it all seems positive.
Well, the first thing she texted me was that she was complaining that I spent too much time going off about Elon Musk, and, duly noted, but that's ignored because I get a lot of pleasure.
I know you do get a lot of pleasure.
As ship ripping him to shreds, although truthfully, there's not as much to say about him as of late now that he's been done.
I would drop it now. I mean,
well, I have one thing, but it's going to shock you when I bring him
something positive.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. She also mentioned on your piece about the Catholic girls' school, she attended Preston.
Oh, really?
And she said the facts are not exactly as we portray.
What are they?
Well, according to her and what her information is that those nuns are a bunch of greedy little sluts. Now, she didn't call
them sluts.
I did.
However, greedy
because she said the school is fully enrolled and that they're selling that property, those nuns, because they own the property and they're going to pocket the money, $85 million. So those old bitches.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, that's not been revealed in any of the articles I read, but it's a juicy little bit of information. Well, I would say is it believable?
Well, she's an alumni. She's involved with
an alumna.
Alumni.
Nah.
Why not?
Singular, single, feminine.
Oh, I don't do that anymore.
Oh, come on. It's always been. Okay, go ahead. That isn't a part of the DEI stuff. It's always been that.
Anyway, she was a cheerleader, too, when she was in school. And I said, I was a detractor, not a cheerleader. But anyway. So I
am shocked if that is accurate.
Yeah, I think it is. Listen, those nuns they may never had sex in their life, but when it comes down to it, they're going to make sure they retire in style. $85 million worth of it. Now, finally,
there'll be cases on that.
She told me she was listening.
The litigation will take up their lifetime.
Well, apparently, Letitia James, our great attorney general here in New York, had a hearing today about the whole thing.
Wow.
Yep. So I didn't listen to it because
I don't think she'd be supportive of the nuns retiring to Vegas.
no, she wouldn't. Although she probably would like a lot of the nuns because I hear a lot of them are lesbos.
Don't drift off.
but anyway, and then finally, my friend, dear sweet friend that she is,
Yes.
she noted that on one episode she was laughing because I was going on such a long tirade and rampage that I didn't even take a breath, and she said she didn't even know Stu was here. And then I wanted to ask you, how does that make you feel to be around someone this overwhelming?
I think it's wonderful. I think more self-control would be useful at times. Only because, but I don't feel left out. I feel comfortable in the kind of role I play. Not role as in trying to do something, but just the way we interact and the time. I suspect you're on considerably more than I, but I have no problem with that. I just think as a matter of usefulness and effectiveness, a little more self-control would be useful. You don't have to say everything that's down. You don't have to cover all the items about which you make notes and I have a script. If I sense that I'm going over, I cut some stuff.
Oh, I've cut stuff out, but there's so much stuff.
I know there is.
And you know what? I love it how people try to control the uncontrollable. It will never happen. But I do realize that sometimes I have a tendency to go on a rampage, and I'm self-aware enough to know that.
It's wonderful. I'm talking about length.
Oh, yeah.
Length.
Yeah. Well, I think it's lately, I admit, I have been kind of going crazy because there's been so much stuff. But
onward.
Okay. Now, we're going to, now that we're off all these housekeeping matters.
Oh, that's cute stuff.
Let's just talk about our latest antics in the White House is our Make America Great Again President, Donald Trump. In his first 100 days, Stu, we have had one of the worst stock market performances in modern history. He claimed...
You know what happened just today?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, fair enough.
He claimed when he was running that if he were to lose, the markets would crumble because he is so good for the economy.
Huh.
Now, this promise obviously has not been fulfilled because the market is on its way to a bear market. And it's his promises. I know this is going to shock both of us, but his promises just don't come to fruition. For example, we're still in the Ukrainian situation is still ongoing and there's no end in sight. It's amazing what a great negotiator he is, Stu. It's amazing. Well, last week, the orange maniac, called it Liberation Day, aka he was liberating us all from our 401k plan.
Oh, yes.
He basically imposed massive tariffs across the board on almost every nation in this Mad Hatter kind of way, including islands that are uninhabited. Now, Herbert Hoover tried the same stuff, but Herbert Hoover didn't have the benefit of foresight. As a difference, he may not have been the greatest president, but he was an honorable man. Trump is a convicted felon who sexually abused women. Let's just get that straight. And his moronic sidekick, who is one of the brain trusts behind this tariffs policy, is Peter Navarro. Now, Peter has a PhD in economics and from Harvard, no less, as well as a master's degree. And he was a professor of economics. No wonder why our students are so stupid or so uneducated. And he went to prison for 4 months for contempt of Congress.
Was that a refusal to testify or something like that?
Before the January 6th
yes.
committee that was investigating the attacks on Trump's absolutely false claims that the election was stolen from him, because it wasn't. Now, you would think someone with this kind of record would have been pushed aside, but he was appointed as a senior counselor for trade and manufacturing, and he has championed tariffs, claiming it's going to put an end to unfair trading practices but For example, one of the probably the biggest offenders of unfair trading practices is China. In reaction to the whole Trump tariff thing, they basically said, we will not be blackmails. Jamie Dimon and others have denounced this policy. And ironically enough, even Trump's favorite parasite, Elon Musk, has. He actually went to war with Navarro, which is interesting.
Yes.
Because
that's what I read.
And he basically said having a PhD is a bad thing, not a good thing, which is a funny comment, frankly.
Yes.
It's the first thing he said in months that I have to say, I hate to say this, but I'm agreeing with the autistic baby daddy. And he's correct. And he's even said that we should have a tariff-free zone between us and Europe. And now Navarro went online and defended himself and said how, Musk is just self-interested because he wants to sell cars. Now, this pissed off Musk because he does more than sell cars, which is true. He also tries to dismantle and destroy our federal government and is a Nazi. But besides that, he also, in response to this, he said that Navarro is a moron who is as dumb as a sack of bricks. Once again, I have to say, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think Navarro, in the first term, was an effective advocate for what Trump wants, and I think he's a bright fellow. Is the policy what we believe in? Probably not, but I consider him to have been an effective advocate then. And I don't know what role he's playing. There have got to be a lot of advocates dealing with different countries these days because they're all coming in. 75 countries. Just before I came up here, 75 countries.
So they claim.
Yeah, but I believe that others probably are trying to get to the table to provide one kind of solution or another, not necessarily all in a tariff framework.
Well, we'll see how it all works out.
I think that's where we should be. Let's see how it works.
We'll see how it all works out. Hopefully, we'll come to some kind of understanding, just like we have in Ukraine.
I understand, but we could get some steady stream of progress on countries. And I wish I don't need China. I want to exclude them. That's a whole different ball of wax. But with respect, what bothers me is that Mexico and Canada were included in this group of offenders at first. There is no reason for that. You don't do that to allies and good neighbors. You don't treat people like dirt with whom we have a very good relationship. You send people to talk quietly about one thing and another, and you get results. You don't humiliate people, and that's what he does. And that's not the way you produce good results.
Well, he hasn't produced good results. And his first term, he tried to do the same kind of crap, except there were the Republican establishment that kind of put a stop to it. Yeah. And this whole notion that the economy was so good while he was president is not true either. We had the same, whenever he started announcing those tariffs, the market would plummet. He created economic instability. Just this time, there are no guardrails. But I just think it's ironic that I am now finding myself in agreement with that pawn of the Chinese Communist Party. And it's painful, but I'm going to admit it. As last week when Trump was, faced with all of this, and the damage it has done to retirees' 401ks, he just shrugged and said, so what? Because, he doesn't care. Well, this week and today, mate, the jellyfish, and he does even wobble like one, that he's putting a pause on his tariffs, except for China. Probably should have been the case in the first place. Although I think even with China, there's probably a place to be negotiating because they're not like Putin. They're not. I would say they might be. I can't say because I'm not an expert. But at the end of the day, Stu, this is just another example of why this guy is a terrible president. And when push comes to shove in 2026, I don't believe we're going to have some big reconciliation of these matters because he's incapable of doing that. And he's being advised by people who are as dumb as bricks, to quote Elon Musk.
I say you need to wait. He could have. If he starts to have a string of successes, maybe small countries, maybe hopefully Canada and Mexico, and it does it in a solid way, a continuing path, I think you're going to see a market rush in the positive way. And if they keep talks with China, you don't want this going down a further bad road with China. It can lead to all kinds of consequences that
I mean, he creates this kind of economic instability. There could be a war.
And just short of that, there could be lots of other damaging consequences.
Well, I expect one of the first agreements we're going to see is with that uninhabited island, because he'll probably go negotiate with a lizard. Speaking of lizards,
yeah.
Is there? I mean, I guess we can move on to this topic the tariffs and how ridiculous it is.
And it's are you tempting me with something about clemency for scum?
Well, Navarro said he would never take a pardon.
Well, okay. I mean, what bothers me most about the pardons and other forms of clemency is that I guess most of us thought it would end with the drumbeat post-inauguration. And a lot of presidents have done it, maybe not as grievously as Trump, but they all have their bad guys that get on the list. And so I'm not making too much of a distinction there. But I think most of us figured that it was going to be over. And no, now there's a steady drip, drip, drip. And that's going to be irritating and wrongful. So, in the immediate aftermath of his inauguration, he pardoned or commuted the sentences of essentially all the January 6 rioters, people who assaulted police officers, threatened cops, destroyed property, and most importantly, through these acts, attempted to overthrow a presidential election. Many thought, including myself, that Trump would at least distinguish between those who committed violent acts and those who didn't. That seemed like one nuance. I always like to come back to that word nuance, and I never get satisfied, actually, when I talk about Trump. But there are ways to do things in portions, and so that didn't happen. And then, at least, I did believe, and others did, I think, that those things would end until maybe the final days of his presidency, whenever that will come. I'm not over on that. The third term. He'll be talking about it. But that hasn't happened. The flurry continues. Example one, a guy named Trevor Milton. Now, this is priceless. He was founder of the electric vehicle truck manufacturer Nikola. And in 2022, Trevor was convicted of defrauding investors by lying about supposed technological breakthroughs at Nikola when he was CEO. Most egregiously, and this is priceless, a supposedly prototypical electric truck was simply rolled down a hill to make it look like it was operating under its own power. I saw that video, and at the time, I was considering making an investment in Nikola. I said, this guy's got something going now. It's going to be sensational. Well, this is one of the few times I made a decent decision and did not happen to make an investment, but I saw that video. He was convicted of sentenced to 4 years in prison. But strangely, Milton and his wife had given Trump's campaign committee $1.8 million just before the November 24 election. Funny how that happens. A U.S. attorney had been seeking restitution of over $600 million for defrauded investors, and the Trump pardon eliminates that possibility. So thank you again, Trump, for rewarding unlawful behavior when people line your pockets and kiss your feet. Example 2, Jason Galanis was granted clemency on March 31. These are all recent drips, I'll call them. He had been serving a sentence of 189 months, almost 16 years, for defrauding an American Indian tribe of defrauding their economic development fund. This strikes at my heart. I mean, these people have been, they've had everything taken from them over the years since we were around.
They want to
steal from their development fund. He was supposed to forfeit $80 million and make restitution for a similar amount. Those obligations were specifically canceled by Trump when he granted clemency, an elimination of further imprisonment. Why was Trump interested in this guy? Well, it turns out he had testified from prison about his interactions with Hunter Biden, while that crook Hunter Biden stated under oath that he only briefly met with Galanis years earlier. But what does this mean? Trump is rewarding Galanis. He's giving him an attaboy, a get-out-of-jail-free card. Oh, and by the way, Galanis' partner, a guy named Devin Archer, he was pardoned in late March as well. So finally, friends, if you praise him, kiss his feet, give him some big bucks, Trump will bless and free you. So count on it. The beat rolls on. That's my thoughts for the day.
You know, this Hunter Biden obsession of Trump's is amazing. Like, who cares about this drug addict deadbeat?
Yeah.
And so this guy had incriminating evidence against Hunter Biden.
I don't even know how much, and that is why I was being careful. I suspect he did, but he could be a liar too. The guy's a crook. He just defrauded I don't put too much faith in there. But it's probably a better than 50 case that the Hunter was involved.
It's amazing that someone who claims to be such a shrewd business plan man is such a sucker, not to mention such a pussy. He folds like a house of cards. He really does. I don't call this good negotiation. I call it weak and pathetic. And he is
scum. And it still pisses me off, though I'm naive. It still pisses me off that daddy let him out of everything and now and in the future.
When you say daddy, you mean Trump's daddy?
No, I mean Biden's dad. Biden's dad let Hunter out. I mean, that whole thing. So Hunter's involvement, if it is such in this Indian fiasco, bothers me even now because he was convicted or was about to be convicted of a crime. He was convicted of a crime.
He was convicted.
And then daddy gave him a pardon, not only for that, but for
everything.
Everything
since a certain date.
Yeah, and this would include that stuff. You know, the Indian stuff, if it existed.
That greasy little drug addict had his fingers everywhere, didn't he?
Yes.
You know what? Hunter Biden makes Ted Kennedy look like a patron saint.
Absolutely. This guy seems to have had dirty fingers and dirty arms and from day one.
And let's not forget, Ted Kennedy killed someone.
Oh, this is worse than I think. You're absolutely right. He's got he had some real...
And he's an arrogant SOB too. Like, I recall when he was like doing news conferences and the like, he came off like he was some kind of political victim. He was a victim of his...
I never saw any of his talk.
I did. He's an arrogant SOB. And let's face it, you're the son of one of the worst presidents ever who got convicted as a drug addict. You have nothing to be proud of. Congratulations. As far as Trump's concerned, I'm not sure he's really all that much better than Hunter Biden, except he doesn't take drugs. Well, we've spent a lot of time, Stu, on this whole Trump nonsense.
Sorry,
No, it's okay.
I thought that pardon thing was just worse because it's a continuing drip.
It's disgusting. I mean, frankly, if we're going to amend the Constitution, it shouldn't be to get rid of the limitation on a third term. It should be limiting the pardon power. Although, a matter of fact, after the way it's been abused, not just by Trump, maybe it should be eliminated altogether. Fuck these people. Let them rot in jail. I mean, seriously. I mean,
it's interesting. I mean,
I'm getting a little carried away.
Go ahead. But that's interesting, though. There's been such abuse, but this is raising it to new levels. And I know some people are interested in talking about potential limitations, but putting that aside for another day.
It's really been abused, and it's a disgrace. Let's start it off with that rapist, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, let's go on.
But anyway, speaking of letting people off the hook, and, you know, we'll turn to a little local story. It's about our mayor's race. Our esteemed mayor, Eric Adams, who spends his evenings in nightclubs in the bathroom snorting coke, and I'll suspect having hanky-panky with transvestite hookers. Just his whole vibe gives that off to me, Stu.
Oh, it's a vibe. You haven't got evidence.
Of course not. It's just the vibe he gets off. He will no longer be facing criminal charges. As we all know, the charges were recently dropped altogether, thanks to his benefactor, Donald Trump. Now, this is another guy who grifts Trump, because I don't think Trump really gets any benefit from Eric Adams. And Adams is such a low-down dirty dog that he is now a pariah in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And because they won, if there's anything that sets them off, it's making a deal with Donald Trump. And then Adams was doing a terrible job as mayor, and he is a terrible mayor. But now he has announced, because he knows he can't win in a Democrat party, that he's going to run as an independent.
That final decisions were made from him. He's announced that. I know he was considering
it. Was last week.
Okay.
I'm not sure what impact that will have on the race. I'm going to guess it may siphon votes away from Democrats like African Americans who might feel some kind of loyalty to Adams. Why they would, I don't know, because he has done nothing to benefit anyone except himself. And the Republicans, if they put up a credible candidate, might be able to make inroads in such a scenario, except the only candidate they put up is Curtis Sliwa.
Now that's a non-starter. I mean, he may get in, but I wish he had credentials beyond just trying to help people on the street, and you got to give him all. I give him all the credit for that. He's always had an interest in protecting people, but he doesn't have a resume, a bio that suggests any other credentials.
He has a clownish type persona.
He's
not mayoral material.
Yeah. So that's not going to do any damage.
No, it's not. But we'll see. I will say one thing about Curtis that I admire. He has 16 cats, and he's a cat lover. And as another cat lover, that's one of the things of his virtue. And as far as Eric Adams is concerned, he's going to get a new designation. I'm going to advise everyone in New York and beyond that they should piss on his lawn as well. But the only problem with Eric Adams is I don't even know where he lives, Stu, because
it's always been a question.
He might be in New Jersey. So if you want to find where he lives, and I can't tell you where to go. I mean, I can tell you can go to the nightclubs in the evening and piss on his shoes. Or maybe he already has that. Maybe he already has that done by the transvestite hook. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, what are the Democrats doing? We have a slew of progressive wackos running. That horrible, hypocritical, unethical piece of shit, Brad Lambert.
Oh, God.
Yes. But who has emerged from the cocoon? Our favorite nursing home serial killer.
The ethical
Andrew Cuomo. And he's never really answered for his COVID performance, and it wasn't good. He did serious damage to the state. He is an arrogant bully, but at the beginning of COVID, he did show leadership until he descended into his arrogance and stupidity. But also, he was effective in certain ways as governor, although he did sign that bail reform into law, which he is responsible for. So, but he is raising a lot of money from his former foes.
I just say it's an easy victory for him.
You think?
Absolutely, I do. Because people know some of the things you're talking about and don't know some of them or haven't thought about it, but they're willing to overlook things. And what they want is some aggressive guy who's going to stand up and protect New York or take action or stand up to Trump or do a bunch of things. That they want someone who can get results. And
you mean like when people voted for Trump, we wanted results. Instead, we got that air market.
And look, I do think they believe he can manage a difficult Brahma bull like New York City and tame it, or at least keep it under control. And that's not the case with any of the other candidates that are going to emerge, I believe.
I mean,
and they disregard some of the minor things like whether he touched their butt and Albany and all that stuff. New Yorkers can look by that. They were willing to look by Anthony Weiner after Incident 1, of what he showed.
When he exposed took
Incident 1.
Johnson.
It was only Incident 2 that got him. That was it.
He went to jail, too, that dirty piece of garbage.
But I mean, they were willing. New York City wants someone who can be efficacious.
Well, I hate to admit this because I feel Cuomo caused a lot of damage to our state with his COVID mismanagement.
Yeah.
But I do believe he would probably, if he is able to keep himself humble and keep his ego in check, which is
that's tough.
Yeah. But I think he probably could be an effective mayor and get certain initiatives done. But if he gets too much good press for it, he's going to go wild. The only thing, so I think if he is elected, and it's a long way off, we're going to have to spend a lot of time criticizing him.
Well, we'll see.
To keep him stable.
We'll see.
The only thing is, if you criticize him, people think Trump is vindictive, that Andrew Cuomo gives vengeance a new name because he is a very vindictive man.
I agree, but the power that Trump has makes it just so consequential.
Right.
When he has vengeance and he doesn't forget, and it carries on and on and on. And I think Trump is a sick man. I think Cuomo may...
Cuomo's not really a sick man.
No,
he's just a
narcissistic.
He's just a pervert with nipple piercing. I've told you that before. There's a picture of them on the New York Post.
Don't want to hear more about his nipple, whatever.
Do you want to get some?
No.
Did you do that while you were down at
I don't think so. Not that I remember.
Can you imagine some 60-plus man with nipple piercing?
Now, wait a minute. Is this just another one of your...
No. This was, everyone says this, and it was on the front page of the New York Post. He was wearing a T-shirt.
Oh, God. No, I never saw it. I don't read it every day.
You don't want to see this.
I don't want to see it.
We don't want to think of Handy Andy having some...
No, I don't want to even hear more about it. I think it's...
He's obviously into some really kinky shit.
I guess so.
He's a good Catholic, though. All right. Now that we've discussed this mayoral disaster, we're going to go back to one of Stu's pet peeves that sends him into a frenzy and a crescendo of rage.
I think that's a little bit of a misrepresentation of crescendo of rage, but it does get me. Fare evasion. New York City is in desperate need of money. We're hemorrhaging cash, and yet we haven't found an effective way yet to eliminate fare evasion, either with license plates going to, over the George Washington Bridge, or on buses or subways. But let me start by saying this before I specifically get to the Metropolitan Transit Authority. There's an expression that I heard a long time ago that I always find humorous, and I feel there's a lot to it. The quote was, "Sociologists are astounded by the commonplace." Now, likewise, I have three companion notions before I talk about psychological studies that the MTA is interested in. Before I get to that, I'd say there are three companion notions that I think are also self-evident. One, give someone an inch and that person will take a hell of a lot more. At least that's my phrasing. Two, some folks will steal, whether given an inch or not. Three, when people see others stealing and getting away with it, and this is so important, I saw evidence of it again today, some will feel emboldened and entitled to do the same, or feel stupid if they don't steal. That principle is at work all the time. And that would not bode well, of course, for collection of tax revenues. Because when you do the small stuff, it encourages the big stuff, and that can be disastrous. I did, just in passing, say that I watched today when I went on the subway. David doesn't know what the subway is, but I'll describe it to you.
I am aware it's that dirty, filthy, rat-strewn garbage dump that I even use for transportation.
But I was about to get on the number 6 train at Astor Place, and I watched two white blonde ponytail girls in, I call them fashionable sweatsuits, stepping over, and I'd call them in their middle 20s, stepping over the bar for the...
Can I say something about...
Yes, of course.
Dirty sluts.
Well, I don't know about the dirty or the slut, but I do know that I yelled, I said loudly, they could hear me clearly, and turned around. I said, and I felt it, I said, you too? What a disappointment. They didn't say anything. They didn't smile. They didn't get aggressive. Maybe it embarrassed them a little. I hope it did. But it's indicative of what I've seen so many times, and with respect to buses yesterday, when you watch people get on the back of an articulated bus, that's the long one that swings around in the middle, you see them getting on for getting a free ride. It's sad. But okay, here are some facts. The Metropolitan Transit Authority, the MTA, is hemorrhaging money. I've said it, everyone knows it. And that's the practice of not paying when you get on a bus, a subway, or a toll road. New York City lost about $800 million in 2022 alone from that thievery. And on January 8 of this year, and this is where we get to the studies, January 8 of this year, the MTA solicited proposals for studies of the psychology behind fare evasion. What? Again, I get back to sociologists are astounded by the commonplace and other stuff. I mean, I can save the MTA a lot of money. Here's the simple truth. People were given free rides on public transportation during the pandemic. That has encouraged some folks to keep the habit. Others feel emboldened to join the crowd, and I think I saw some of that today. I've called out to a number of people, including today, after watching them slip through a subway turnstile. I say to them usually, you are stealing. I did that just 2 or 3 days ago down at Grand Street. You get different looks, and on one occasion I thought there was going to be a real problem I was going to be in with respect to a group of young folks.
Oh, no.
But it didn't happen. But I suffice it to say that there's been a variety of responses to my announcements. Now, I am compassionate, and I understand that some folks have very limited income. Those folks are eligible for half-fare subway cards. That means $1.50, a little less than $1.50, for a ride and a transfer. There are over 358,000 people who have those cards, and public school students get free rides. So I don't think there's much excuse for theft. Now, what should the MTA do? Simple. Catch the violators. Warn them, maybe the first time. Second time, fine them. If the practice continues, arrest them, prosecute them. No social theory, no psychological studies, prosecution. I believe that when people see there are real consequences to unlawful conduct, many folks will play by the rules. It's a deterrent. It's a real deterrent, and we need that. We don't need psychological studies. That's absolutely absurd. Children will learn, and some children will learn what their parents have failed to teach them. I keep coming back to that as well. In fact, I thought this today. What if I knew who the parents of these kids were? I'll bet you they didn't learn that. I'll bet you they'd be embarrassed. But if New York City fails to take aggressive action, the problems of unlawful conduct will only grow larger. It's just broken windows.
Well, as you know, Stu, it was Cyrus Vance who stopped the prosecution, our former district attorney, of fare evasion because it was a racist practice. And look what we have. We have two little white bitches in their Lululemons jumping across.
No, they didn't jump. They stepped. These were tall girls. They stepped just like others. Anyway, they got through.
You know what? These people should have fare evasion branded on their butts.
That's an idea. Or maybe on an arm, just like something out of a gulag or something, you know.
I mean, it's utterly absurd. And it's
or a small red letter A.
I mean, I don't know what Handy Andy Cuomo plans to do if he becomes mayor, but it's time we started enforcing the laws here in New York City. But be sure, Stu, the little composting Gestapo will make sure that someone who doesn't put their scraps of meat in the right place is going to owe $100 to this shithole of a city that can't even educate its kid and has some of the lowest test scores in the country.
You know, you just reminded me of something else. I agree, but I have something else, but I don't. We can deal with it another day.
There's so much to deal with. There's so much.
I have a little story that maybe I'll give next time about a dive and some things that have happened and what I did today.
No.
And what I did today.
I heard
it's all good. It's all good.
I heard Grand Street as one of your subway stops, and I knew you were off at one of those divey restaurants with the hepatitis stews and all the rest of it. I knew it.
We'll deal with it and some other issues and what came out of it today, what I felt moved to do today when I went back to that place. And we'll deal with it another day.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear because I'm sure I'm going to have something to say about it. Because I have something to say about everything. I do want to end on a note.
Yes.
The final episode of White Lotus was this weekend. And I know you don't watch.
I know it's popular. I've read it.
Right, but Parker Posey was in it.
Oh, Parker.
Remember, she lived in our building.
Remember, were you there? Were you sitting next to me when she spoke down to me from the adjacent building?
No.
This was about maybe 7, 8, 10 months ago. She was in a party a few floors up in 24 Fifth Avenue.
Why don't you something?
Well, I was surprised. She said, "Hey, Stu."
So she remembered you.
Barely, but she did. I was surprised. And she, of course, is she's a prominent actress. So.
Right. Well, in her final soliloquy on the show, she played the wife of a very rich man.
Yes.
She basically gave a whole soliloquy about how we should embrace being wealthy. We should live like kings and queens and
this was
on her character on the show.
Okay.
And it was like completely decadent. And all it made me do is...
You loved it.
I did. I would warm inside when I heard it because there's nothing better than being rich. Unfortunately, you can never have too much money. As they say, you could never be too rich or too thin. And that is my send-off today after we have to...
It's heartwarming. Absolutely heartwarming.
You would agree. And as a matter of fact, I only added that just to send you into a frenzy. Well, I hope you'll tune in on Spotify, Amazon, and the like, and please leave comments, including negative feedback. A matter of fact, I know Stu might be sensitive, but I'm not, and I love being criticized because I know I'm hitting a nerve. Until next week.
Take care, folks. Bye.